Swimmers, take your mark.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Deck with Florida Swim Network, the new show with swimming from all around the state of Florida. I am your host, Joe Auer, along with David Van Buskirk and Coach Sid Cassidy.
And On Deck is going to be a weekly TV show that's going to focus on not only on swimming, but also the stroke techniques, swimming health, documentaries on great Florida swimmers, but also at the same time, we're going to talk about news of the Olympics, and who can forget the mythical high school championship.
That is so awesome. But you know what? The person to keep us in line is, of course, Coach Sid Cassidy from St. Andrews.
Well, thank you, Joe and Dave. It's an honor to be here with both you gentlemen. I'm not sure I can keep you in line, but I am excited for what's coming up. We have so many different things that we're going to be covering. I know we're going to get into some open water swimming, certainly some diving, certainly a number of the things that are important to swimmers, not just them, but also their parents and hopefully their coaches. So this is a great opportunity for all of us to get something really special rolling in the state of Florida.
And not only is it going to be special in the point of swimming, but we're also going to take it to the next level. We also have Caitlin's going to come in and talk to us about college recruiting, and also is going to teach those that are not familiar with the swimming sport kind of the word of the week, so to speak.
Yes, that's going to be fun stuff. Also, Race Club from down in Almirada is going to tell us a drill.
Well, I'll tell you, you get Gary Hall teaching you a drill or two. You can't do much better than that.
That's true. That's true.
Speaking of drills and everything going in swimming, what a crazy July. Swim meet after swim meet after swim meet. I tell you, you're living in a car.
I mean, it's been a crazy month. I mean, you look back at the last several weeks, and the couple weeks are right on the horizon. It's preparing that is such a tedious event months ahead when you're a coach trying to think about, where are my best kids going to go? What about the B kids? What about the age group kids? And I know as parents, I know as anybody who's involved with the sport, you all have to deal with it. It really makes it a challenge. That's why communication's a key. Having those plans well in advance makes it a much better opportunity for everybody to succeed.
How in the world do you go, you take your kids, a group over here is getting ready for this meet, a group over here is getting ready for this meet. I mean, the practice must be insane.
Well, the key is have good people around you, Joe, and when you have a good set of assistant coaches, when you have a group that all fires together, it works a lot more easily, but you always have to be ready for anything to come up. There's the weather, the finals get canceled, this goes on. You look at what we've been through the last few weeks, it's been a little crazy here in Florida.
Oh man, it's nuts.
And you mentioned it perfectly, weather. Weather has created some havoc on not only training, but okay, now we've got to figure out how we're going to do this, and it's also, you're changing your workout schedule for used to swim in the afternoons. Now you're swimming in the mornings or middays, just so you don't have to have the weather play a factor in your workouts.
Well, we do, and the competitions that are coming up, when you look at where we are in the week, certainly World Championships over in Kazan, right on the horizon. The open water, we have a lot of people in the pool event. Don't forget, we have Arthur Frailer over there swimming against the best. He was actually in Toronto doing a job for us there, but we have some of the very best pool swimmers that we could possibly have at World Championships.
And Joe, who can forget? We're now within inside a year of Olympic trials.
Coming around. It is coming around, and we have a lot of specials coming up for that, so you guys need to stay tuned to that. So Dave, who do we got coming on the show for us?
Earlier, in fact, we're going to have Coach Charlie Rose from Oviedo High School. He's going to be stopping by talking about, early preseason of high school swimming.
And he joined us on the shows last fall during the mythical season. We were teasing him like crazy.
Well, I coached Charlie at Florida State before I went to Miami, before my son went to Florida. So, I know the big three in this state. Charlie was quite a character.
Yeah, he was. He still is. What do you mean? When we come back, we're going to have Florida swimmer Caitlin Freeling talk about high school and college recruiting. Stay tuned.
Streamline is a swimming technique that is used underwater with every stroke. Streamline creates the least amount of resistance to help the swimmer propel as far as they can underwater.
You're
Caitlin Freeling here to introduce you to some of our athletes that are heading off to college this season. We'll start at the Central Florida area. Noah Hensley is heading off to FSU. He is a back-to-back state champion in the 100 fly. Matt Holmes is heading to Florida Southern. He is a state champion in the 200 IM. Moving on to the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. Grant Sanders is heading off to Arizona. He is a state champion in the 200 IM. Heading over to the Jacksonville area now, Grady Heath is heading off to UF. He is the son of 2 Gator parents, one of which is Olympian Mike Heath. Now down to South Florida. We have 3 athletes here. The first is Eric Ordaz, who is heading off to Wingate University. He's a very strong distance swimmer. The second is Mateo Gonzalez, who is heading over to Texas A&M. He's a very solid sprinter and also a 200 IM state champ. And the third is Marcelo Acosta, who is heading out to Louisville, and he's also a very strong distance swimmer. Good luck, guys. Have fun, be safe, swim fast.
Welcome to the Race Club Minute. I'm head coach Gary Hall Sr. At the Race Club, we offer swimming technique instruction year-round to swimmers of all ages and abilities. And we're excited to bring you each week one of our favorite drills which help our campers become faster swimmers. A good freestyle stroke begins with a good underwater pull. The correct pull will create lift, propulsion, and minimize frontal drag, enabling a swimmer to move through the water with greater speed and less effort. One of the best drills for learning the correct underwater pull is the one-arm freestyle. Race Club marathon swimmer Lexi Kelly demonstrates how to do this drill properly. With one arm held in front, she recovers with the pulling arm over the water, fully extending her hand at entry. As she initiates the pull, her fingers quickly move from pointing forward to pointing downward, creating lift as the hand remains just inside the elbow. From this point, the hand moves nearly straight backward, just inside the elbow, yet not moving far under the body in order to create propulsion. Lexi rotates her body to the side during the pulling motion, then back to her stomach on the recovery to get ready for the next pull. Take your time when you're doing the one-arm drill, and remember to keep the elbow extremely high, about 1 inch under the water. Don't outsweep your hand or insweep your hand. Do it like Lexi does, and you'll swim fast.
Welcome back to On Deck, and we're with head swim coach Charlie Rose and from Oviedo High School. Charlie, interesting season last year.
It was a great year. We had a lot of young girls, a large team, and a lot of them are returning this year, so they got some good experience. They ended up well at the end of the year. They unfortunately, we had a couple of false starts on 2 of the 3 relays, and one of them could have won state. But those girls, a lot of them are coming back, so I think this year we've got a good shot of really scoring higher as a team. On the guys' side, a young group, not quite as large a team, but we got some studs coming in that should help add to it. I think when you look at the 2 meets on a girls' meet at the state for all the teams, you've got to have size and you've got to have speed. On the guys' side, you can get away with not having as large a team. So the girls' teams are much more competitive. To score high, you've got to have a big team.
Let's a little bit talk about some of the individuals that we had for last year. Noah Hensley, I know, graduated, ended up going over to Florida State.
Yes, Noah was a 3-time state champion, and he's headed off to Florida State.
Too bad.
Yeah, I know. That hurts. And, yeah, he was real solid. On the we had Mickey Kennedy, Joshua Yee, both state swimmers, and they're coming back. So I'm looking forward to leadership from them. And
Well, Charlie, I know you're very involved with that Haggerty team, too. And I remember watching Zach Poti last spring down in Plantation swim a San Antonio cut.
yeah, they're Haggerty's. There's a couple of swimmers there. One guy is John Fulginity, who was second at the state meet last year in the breaststroke. I think he's going to be a contender in the IM and the breast this year. Should be sub 150.
He's a shade off Olympic trial cuts.
He's a couple second or so. He should, and on the girls' side from there, you got Ashley Bodiford, who was top 3 in the state in the 200 IM. She's a backstroker. Kelsey Hahn is also a finalist. Zach Pote's at Timber Creek, and I think if we're going to predict anything, Zach Pote's going to be the swimmer of the meet.
And these guys are really. Wow.
Yeah,
and I tell you,
he's won 430s and 400-meter backs.
I know he's got a great.
Yeah.
He's got a great club coach, right? And that helps.
And Charlie has a chance to see a lot of these athletes, especially for in the club season. For girls' side, you've got a couple of swimmers coming back. You've really strong girls for Oviedo High School this next year.
Yeah, we like I said, last year we had an amazing year. We broke a lot of team records. Our girls 200 free relay time that they went in season would have put them second at the state meet, and that was in season. So coming back, Madison Floyd, great sprinter, good flyer. Savannah Brennan's coming back. She's well-rounded, 200 IM, 500 freestyle. I got Caitlin Hunt, who's going to be one of the top sprinters. She should be 51 in the 100 freestyle. She was 52 now. So it's a good group coming back.
One of your only seniors that are coming back is going to be Julie Cates.
Yes, and Julie Cates is the story of the season, I hope. She was swinging on a rope, landed in a river, and broke her leg this summer.
Oh, wow.
So she's on a comeback trail going into her senior year, but I think she's going to do great.
I remember when she was 10 years old winning JOs.
Yep.
Awesome stuff.
Yep.
Wow, time flies.
So diver-wise, let's talk about diving. You know, Oviedo does have a great diving program coming into this season. I think you had Jackson Wydra last year finished 23rd in the 1 meter.
Wow, good.
Jackson is a gymnastics cheerleader convert, and he did a great job last year. First year, he'll be back. You know, it's tough. We don't have diving boards, so we've got to travel across town and do what we can practice-wise. But we need to get some gymnasts out there and cheerleaders out there. They usually make pretty good
Looks
divers.
like you got to go hunting for some kids.
Yeah.
So a little bit for last year, didn't know if you're aware that, you know, for all the classifications, Oviedo High School actually had, in the 200 free relay for the boys, they actually had to do a swim-off in order to see who was going to make finals.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, you had that relay team not only had to swim prelims, they had to come back and swim a swim-off and then go into a finals. So
A lot of fun, and the kids, swimmers always go faster. We had a great time.
Well, swim-offs are great, and it's very unusual to see it in a relay. And I remember that day. That was pretty exciting for your boys.
Oh, yeah. A lot of fun.
Well, Charlie, now comes to ask a coach a question. All right? This goes to Sid, and then anybody can answer. Of course, this comes from Daytona Beach
It's
Speed
not
Mom,
Sid's question, though, is it?
Jennifer C.
From Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Okay.
My 12-year-old daughter loves swimming, loves the water, loves practice, and most of all, loves to compete at meets. She's very self-motivated, wants to swim in college and beyond. My concern as a parent is burnout. Basically, she's had practice 5 days a week since turning 9 years old. Do you have any advice?
Well, Jennifer, yes, I do have some advice. The key word that I heard you continue to write is she loves this. She loves that. As long as she's loving what she's doing, you're going to be a happy mom. The absolute reality is kids are going to go up and down. They're going to have good years, good months, bad months, good days, bad days. Be there as a mom, love her, hug her, and communicate with your coach. As long as the whole family stays aligned, what we do is hold family alignment meetings and make sure that they understand the road is not going to be right to the top. There's going to be some hills and valleys. And if you stick with her and continue to support her and let her love the sport, don't worry about burnout.
Charlie?
Very good.
What do you think about that?
Pretty much in agreement with what Sid just said with everything. I think burnout, a lot of times at a younger age, they have a lot of fun. They're getting faster and faster. And I think realizing what Sid said is as you get older, it's not always up and up and up. And you got to understand to get through that times. And that's part of it. And every great athlete's been through it. As far as burnout goes, it's not necessarily, I don't think it's a thing that comes from training like some people might think or talk about. I just think it comes from different interests, looking at something else, having some other direction to go in, or perhaps friends that don't swim. So I think if you can keep the kid involved in the sport, keep them around their friends, and keep them having fun, you got a good shot at keeping them in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's great stuff. What do you guys do as maybe in the age groupers, maybe the 6 to 8? Do you do something fun once a week or twice a week just to keep them excited?
Well, we've been really lucky this year. We hired a great age group coach, and she does. If it's the little guys, maybe we go off the diving boards. We play some games. If they leave practice and they want to come back, they don't want to leave practice. That's a good thing.
That's great. That's great stuff. Charlie, got a last little tidbit
Well,
on that?
I had a really, really good age group coach for many, many years, and he has since retired. But I used to watch him. He would do things like cannonball contest and absolutely have a good time. And I think you've got to also, to keep it fun for those kids, you got to give them a lot of confidence. You give them a 90% positive feedback. So keep it
great
fun
stuff.
for them.
You guys wondering how to perform your best? Dr. Brad Burkhart takes us to his Healthy Minute. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Brad Burkhart with Orlando Orthopedic Center, and I'm here to give you your Healthy Minute. I wanted to talk to you today about rotator cuff tears and shoulder injuries, but specifically the rotator cuff. So what is the rotator cuff? The rotator cuff is a group of tendons that wraps around the ball, and it basically keeps the ball centered in the socket. People can get rotator cuff tears from a number of things, but for you swimmers out there who are swimming miles and miles a day, you might wake up and you think, why is my shoulder giving me trouble? I'm taking ibuprofen, I put some ice on, I rested it, it's still hurting, what's going on with this thing? Well, if that happens, you need to come in and see your doctor. And when you come and see your doctor, sometimes we'll say, hey, listen, you have a little bit of inflammation in your shoulder, do some physical therapy, take this prescription, and you usually get better. If it doesn't, sometimes you have to come in and get an MRI. And if that MRI shows something bad, like a rotator cuff tear, sometimes you even need surgery. But I would tell you, for the most part, we can get people better without surgery. You do physical therapy, you take a little bit easy on your swimming, you do some anti-inflammatory medications, and for the most part, we'll get you better. So if your shoulder's hurting you, it's not getting better with the normal things, come on in and we'll take a look at it.
This episode of On Deck with Florida Swim Network is brought to you by The Aquatic Shop.
I had a chance to sit down earlier with Justin Correia at Southwest Stars, and this is what he had to say.
So Justin, how did you get started in swimming?
Well, my sister actually got started before I did. She was 6 years old, I was 12, I was playing soccer at the time. And somehow when she was in her little swim team that she was doing, she got really good at what she did. So my parents kind of plucked me out of soccer and decided, well, you're gonna swim too, and we're gonna do this as a family sport. And at first it wasn't really what I wanted to do because I loved soccer, soccer was my thing. But I had no really the choice in the matter. I kind of got stuck doing it at the same time as she did.
So now you're a coach with the Southwest Stars.
Mm-hmm.
How would your kids view the training that you did when you were growing up in the swimming community compared to what we have now?
Well, I'd say most of my hard training was in the 90s. I swam under Peter Banks, Coach Peter Banks, who's now in Ireland, and Peter trained 2 girls to the Olympics for the United States team, and we were a very distance-based program, so everything that we did was very geared towards distance, and it was very hard-nosed swimming. You swam until you basically passed out, and you did what you had to do. It's incredible astronomically amounts of yardage that were put into what we did. Compared to now, where it's not so much. I mean, there's some programs that are like that, but there's a lot more variety out there than what was in back then, because back then that's what everybody did.
What made you decide to go into being a coach for swimming?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I never thought, after I left the pool as a senior in high school, I never thought I was going to come back. That was not in my life plan. I'd left all my accolades and everything that I put into swimming. High school swimming for me was end all be all, and then I was just kind of swimming just to stay in shape. Fast forward a couple years, I was still in college, and I found a part-time job as a beer vendor for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And one of my coaches from back when I swam found out that I was doing that, and he had taken a position at the Aquatic Club at Temple Terrace, and said, hey, why don't you just come over and I can get you a job as a lifeguard. It's way better than selling beer for the Lightning. And I was like, okay, maybe you're right. And at that time, I was pretty much over walking up and down the nosebleed seats selling beer. And so I started lifeguarding at the Aquatic Club at Temple Terrace, and after a while, he's like, hey, why don't you come and coach the summer league team for us? We need some help. Why don't you do that? I was like, okay, I'll do that. And that basically, that's kind of how I fell into it. I started coaching summer league. I started teaching lessons. I got really good at teaching lessons, and they asked me to be an age group coach. Then I eventually became the head age group coach. And then eventually, Sean Dellery, who was the coach who got me into it, ended up leaving the team. And when he left, I took over his position. And it was kind of one of those tumultuous times where he left, and everybody on the team left also. And all that I had to work with was probably 10 swimmers on that team. And it was a very, very difficult time for me because I was still in college. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just knew that I had to give these kids a place to swim and something to do while they were on team. And so I learned everything I needed to learn. I read up everything that I needed to read. And, 3 or 4 years later, we ended up building the team back up to about 60 to 70 kids. And then 8 years after that, we were in the 150s. And so it was almost like guerrilla coaching in effect, that it was tough, it was hard, but I made it work.
So let's talk about, as you were growing up in swimming, what was your best moment in swimming?
Well, I had a few good moments. I think personally for myself, when I was in high school, my senior year, our relay team came in second at states by 100th of a second. And I remember sitting there watching this guy named John Wright come down and just barrel and almost catch a lineman swimmer. And that I'll always remember that for the rest of my life, and that feeling and the whole atmosphere. But I think in swimming as a whole, I think when my sister made the Olympic team was probably the greatest moment for me. And I could say that for the rest of our family. At Long Beach, we were all the way up in the stands, and they dove in for that 100 freestyle. As soon as she flipped her to the 50, I knew that she was going to make it. And when she hit the wall and we looked up, we were just like, oh my God, that just really, I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it now. It was just the most incredible moment that I can't even describe to anybody, because it was here's my baby sister, a lifelong dream that she's had since she was probably 8 or 9, really coming true for her years later. And not only just was it bittersweet to see her make the team, but I knew all the struggles that she had leading to that moment, where she was a great age grouper. She'd idolized these swimmers growing up. She'd gone to college. She'd beaten some of those records that those swimmers had, to going to Olympic trials for her first time and bombing her first one, and going into depression to overcome depression, and swim at the Olympic trials and hit that wall and make the Olympic team and get recognized for her accomplishments. You can't take that away. It's something that'll always be with me, and that she probably, of course, it's much better for her, but as her brother, it was an amazing experience.
Justin, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So we're here with our rapid fire section of the show where we drill Coach Charlie. So guys,
All right.
what is your first question for Coach Charlie, Sid?
Well, Charlie, we talked a lot about that mythical championship. Is there any way the FHSAA could ever get the best kids together?
I do think it's a possibility. I don't see why not. I know that there's a lot involved as far as travel goes, and you're stretching a season out, and you've got other seasons starting, other sports. So FHSAA looks at all that stuff, and I'm sure there's a cost involved. That's an issue. But I think it'd be great. First off, Florida Swim Network should do the mythical meet that they do online. That's wonderful.
awesome.
But
You're taking it away from us.
Yeah, but to get the kids on the block and putting the actual best athletes in the state of Florida together in one heat is a fantastic idea.
I have a theory on that, Charlie, and it involves, a few years back we added these region level meets. And I think we used to go straight from districts to states. If we could bring that back, and then a week after that,
I agree.
Have a chance to get the best kids up.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of high schools, what rule would you change for high school swimming and diving this next year if you had an opportunity to make that change?
Me personally, it would absolutely be diving. I would eliminate this 11 dive fiasco that we're the only governing body, the National High School, NCAAs, USA Diving, Olympic Trials, Olympics, World Championships, 6 dives. Why are we doing 11?
Charlie?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And plus, there's a lot of athletes, new divers, that can't make 11 dives.
Absolutely.
So you can get more athletes competing at the state level. That'd
Could
be a
save
great
diving.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Any other changes?
No. I think it's a pretty good meet. I like what I see, and it's fun, it's fast, and no.
Well, guys, that's our first show. And we'll be back next week when Lake Highlands Mike Hurley comes to see us. So from everybody here at Florida Swim Network, see you next time on deck.